The battlefield was silent, only the smoke rising in the cold air. Once there had been fire, the kind that turned stone into dust and sky into flame, but now only ashes remained. The ground was black, broken with deep cracks where the dragon's body had crashed. It was a giant creature, its scales burned and wings torn, and to all eyes it was dead. The soldiers who had fought it stood far away, whispering that the monster was finished at last. They had no reason to step closer, no reason to check again, because no living thing could survive such wounds. The smell of blood and burned flesh made the air heavy. The silence of the dragon made the world believe it was over. But under one massive wing, hidden from the soldiers, a faint sound stirred. It was a weak cry, high and trembling, the kind that did not belong to a monster but to a child. A hatchling moved, small compared to the giant body, its scales softer, its eyes wide and glowing. It pushed against the heavy wing, struggling to get out, calling softly as if begging its mother to wake. No one heard except one man, a human soldier who had broken away from the group. His steps were slow, his weapon heavy in his hands. He came closer to the body not with courage but with curiosity. The others had called him foolish, but he felt something he could not explain. The battlefield was too quiet. The end too sudden. He had fought beasts before, but this one, even in death, gave him a strange feeling of sorrow. The hatchling froze when it saw the human. Its little chest rose and fell quickly. Its claws gripping the dirt, it did not attack, it did not hide. It only looked at him with eyes that glowed like embers. For a moment, the man forgot that this was the child of a monster. He saw not a beast but a creature frightened and alone. Still his hands tightened around his weapon. His training told him to finish it quickly, before it grew into another threat. One shot, one strike, and it would be done. Yet his finger refused to move behind the hatchling. The dragon's body gave a faint sound, almost like air leaving broken lungs. It was so soft the soldier thought he imagined it. But the hatchling reacted at once, pushing against its mother's side, making louder cries. It knew something the humans did not. The dragon was not fully gone. A heart still beat, faint but real. A spark of life remained in the body everyone thought was dead. The man's breath caught. He glanced over his shoulder where the rest of the soldiers stood far away. They would not believe him if he shouted. They would only return to finish what they had started. The hatchling looked at him again. As if begging without words, its eyes were wet. Its small body shaking but still brave, the soldier felt a weight in his chest. A strange guilt he could not understand. Was this what mercy felt like even for an enemy? He lowered his weapon slightly, though his mind warned him this was madness. The hatchling tilted its head. Unsure but hopeful, the man knelt closer, and the air seemed to thicken with tension. Every sound in the battlefield sharpened. The crackle of fire still burning in broken wood. The distant voices of soldiers calling to each other. The beating of his own heart. He thought of the stories told about dragons, creatures of terror, destroyers of worlds, but what he saw now was different. A child trying to wake its dying mother, a family broken and desperate. The world called the dragon a monster, but could a monster inspire such devotion in its child? The man felt his hands shake. One choice could end this, one choice could save it. His weapon was still in his grasp, his orders were still in his memory, yet his heart leaned toward something else, something dangerous but deeply human. He did not understand why, but he could not bring himself to kill the hatchling. He could not bring himself to deliver the final strike to the mother either. Something about this moment felt wrong. He felt as if the truth of the war was standing in front of him, hidden in the cries of a hatchling. The soldier took a deep breath, the smoke filling his lungs. He stepped closer to the dragon's body, and the hatchling did not run. It stayed, trembling but trusting. The man lowered his weapon fully, the metal clicking softly against his armor. He knew this choice would change everything. If the others saw him hesitate, if they saw him protect this creature, they would turn on him without mercy. But for now, in this hidden corner of the battlefield, it was only him, the hatchling, and the faintly breathing mother. The wind blew across the silent land, carrying ashes like snow. The soldier looked into the hatchling's eyes once more. He saw not fire, not rage, but something innocent, something fragile. He whispered to himself, though no one could hear, "This is not over." And with that, the first spark of a secret alliance was born. The hatchling made a soft cry in return, as if it understood. The dragon mother's breath came faintly again. The man's heart beat louder in his chest. The war outside might have been won, but inside this moment a new story had begun. The night grew darker on the battlefield, and the other soldiers began to move away. Thinking their mission was finished, they spoke of victory, of how the great dragon had fallen at last and how no trace of danger remained. But the man who had stayed behind knew something they did not. He had seen the hatchling's desperate cries, and he had heard the faint, almost hidden breath of the mother. It was weak, but it was real. The dragon was not truly dead, and the hatchling knew it better than anyone. The little creature pressed itself close to its mother's side, listening to the slow thump of her heart deep inside her chest. To the soldiers, the giant beast looked lifeless, nothing more than a burned carcass of war. But the hatchling's instincts told it the truth. It nudged at her, climbing up to her torn scales, crying out as if each sound could call her back. No one else noticed, no one cared. To the humans, this was nothing more than the remains of a monster. To the hatchling, it was still a mother worth saving. The soldier watched in silence, his weapon now lowered. He should have walked away, should have returned to his squad, but something in him refused. His heart twisted as he saw the little creature try again and again to wake the mother. The hatchling's cries were not of anger. They were of grief. It clawed at the earth, scraping with tiny talons, and then pressed its face against the dragon's side. It did not want to accept the truth others believed. Its mother was alive, it had felt it. And it would not give up. The man felt torn. He thought of his orders, the endless drills where he had been told never to hesitate, never to doubt. Dragons were killers, enemies to all, but in this moment he could not see a killer. He saw a child that refused to abandon hope, and strangely, he felt the same hope begin to rise inside him. The hatchling turned to him suddenly, its glowing eyes locking onto his. It gave a short, sharp cry as if calling him, demanding him to look closer. The man frowned, unsure what to do, but he stepped forward, his boots crunching over the ashes. The hatchling did not move away, it did not attack. It stood beside its mother's body and waited, as if asking him to see what it already knew. The soldier bent down, placing his ear near the dragon's chest. At first he heard nothing, only silence. Then faintly, deep within, he caught it. The slow, steady beat of a heart still fighting to live. He froze, his breath caught in his throat. The hatchling gave a soft cry, almost relieved, as though telling him, "You hear it too." The man closed his eyes for a moment, his mind spinning. Everything he had been told was now shaken. If this dragon still lived, what did that mean? Was the war truly over? Or had they only pushed the enemy into a corner? He stood up quickly, his hands trembling. If the others found out, they would come back and finish the job. They would not hesitate, not like him, and they would kill the hatchling too. The man looked at the small creature, and for the first time he saw its eyes not as flames but as windows to its heart. There was fear there, but also trust. The hatchling seemed to know the man understood now. It inched closer to him, small claws scraping the dirt, its body shaking but brave. The man did not move, allowing it to come near. When it stood only a few steps away, the air felt heavy, almost sacred. The soldier whispered under his breath, words he was not sure the creature could understand. "She's alive." The hatchling gave a small sound, like a soft trill, as if agreeing. The man looked back at the dragon's body, its massive chest rising with the weakest of breaths. It was true, the fight was not over for her. She was still clinging to life. The soldier's heart beat harder as he realized what this meant. If he stayed, he was defying his own people. If he walked away, he would betray the truth he had just discovered. Either way, his life would never be the same. The hatchling returned to its mother's side, resting its small head against her torn scales. It closed its eyes for a moment as if listening again. Then it looked back at the man and gave another cry. This time the soldier thought he understood. The hatchling was asking for help. Not words, not speech, but a cry full of meaning. The man tightened his grip on his weapon, not to use it, but as a reminder of the choice before him. His training had told him what to do, but his heart told him something else. And for the first time in years of war, he felt more human than soldier. The night air grew colder, and the silence heavier. Far away, the voices of other soldiers echoed, calling each other as they prepared to leave. No one cared for what lay here anymore. No one but him and the hatchling. He looked at the massive body again and whispered almost to himself, "They will not believe me. They will kill her. They will kill you." The hatchling pressed against its mother's side once more, eyes never leaving the man's face. The soldier felt his chest tighten, For reasons he could not explain, he could not walk away. The truth burned too bright inside him. The dragon was alive, and the hatchling was right. A new path was opening before him. Dangerous and uncertain, and he knew he was about to take it. The soldier stood frozen in the dark, his thoughts fighting inside his head. He had heard the heartbeat. He had seen the hatchling's desperate eyes, and now he had a choice. If he returned to his squad, he could tell them nothing. He could pretend the dragon was gone, but every step away would feel like betrayal. Not only to the hatchling, but to the truth itself. He looked down at his weapon, the cold metal heavy in his hands, and slowly he lowered it to the ground. The hatchling tilted its head, watching him with curiosity, its glowing eyes no longer filled with fear, but with a strange kind of trust. The soldier took a careful breath and whispered under his breath, "All right, little one, I won't hurt you." The hatchling crept closer, its claws scraping lightly against the broken earth. It moved slowly, as if testing him, ready to run if he raised his weapon again. But the soldier stayed still, letting it come. When it stopped only a short distance away, he could see how small and fragile it really was. Its scales were softer than its mother's. Not yet hardened, its wings barely strong enough to lift. It gave a weak cry, a sound of exhaustion more than anger, and then it pressed its small body back against its mother's side. The soldier's heart twisted at the sight. A child clinging to a dying parent, refusing to let go. It reminded him of memories he thought he had buried, of his own family lost long ago to the war. He clenched his jaw and looked away, but the feeling stayed. He knew his squad would return soon to check the battlefield again. If they saw the hatchling alive, if they saw the dragon still breathing, they would strike without hesitation. He imagined their boots stomping over, their weapons raised, their eyes cold, and he imagined the hatchling's cries as it tried to defend its mother. The soldier felt a shiver run through him. He could not allow that to happen, but protecting them would mean turning against his own kind. The thought made his hand shake, yet the decision was already forming deep inside him. He searched around and found a small packet of food in his belt. Dried meat from the rations. He held it out slowly, not sure if the hatchling would even understand. The little creature sniffed the air, hesitated, then crawled toward him. It stopped halfway, cautious, then moved again, inch by inch. Finally it reached his hand, and with quick, sharp bites it took the food. Its small teeth pricked his fingers, but he did not pull away. He let it eat, watching its eyes soften with relief. Something unspoken passed between them in that moment. The first thread of a bond, fragile but real. The soldier crouched lower, close to the ground so he would not appear threatening. The hatchling finished eating and looked at him again, tilting its head. Then it let out a sound almost like a purr. Soft and low, the soldier almost laughed, though the sound caught in his throat. He had never thought a dragon's child could look so harmless, so alive with feeling. He reached out his hand slowly, carefully. The hatchling flinched at first, but then, after a long pause, it allowed his fingers to touch its small head. Its scales were warm, its skin softer than he had expected. For a moment he forgot about the war, forgot about orders. He only felt the weight of this tiny life trusting him. Behind them, the dragon mother gave another weak breath, her chest rising faintly. The soldier looked at her massive form, and a question burned in his mind. Why had he been told dragons were only monsters? Why had no one spoken of their bonds, their families, their hearts? He thought of the hatchling's cries, of the faint heartbeat still fighting inside the dragon's chest, and he knew something was wrong with the story he had been taught. The sound of voices in the distance pulled him back. His squad was not far now. He had to decide quickly. Would he stand with the hatchling and its mother, or would he step aside and let them die? The soldier's fists tightened and he looked at the hatchling again. Its eyes glowed in the dark, full of trust and silent pleading. And in that moment he made his choice. He could not betray them, he would protect them, even if it cost him everything. The soldier moved quickly now, searching for anything to cover the dragon's massive body. He found broken pieces of burned wood and torn cloth from the battlefield. It was not much, but it might hide the faint movement of her breathing for a little while. The hatchling helped in its own small way, pulling bits of dirt and ash over its mother's side. The sight made the soldier's chest ache. Even this tiny creature understood the need for secrecy. Together, human and hatchling worked in silence, both knowing the danger that crept closer with every passing second. At last the soldier sat back, his heart pounding. The mother still lived, though barely. The hatchling curled against her, eyes heavy with exhaustion, and the man stood guard. weapon in hand but no longer aimed at them. He knew the squad would question him, they might even turn on him, but he was ready now for the first time. He was not just following orders. He was following something greater, a bond, a spark of truth, a sense that this was the right path even if it led to ruin. The hatchling raised its head and gave a soft cry, not of fear but of recognition. The soldier nodded, his face set with determination. From this moment, their fates were tied together. The war outside might still rage, but here in the shadows of a broken battlefield, a soldier and a dragon hatchling had chosen trust over hatred, and nothing would ever be the same again. The soldier did not sleep that night. His eyes stayed on the hatchling and the broken body of the dragon mother. The hatchling had curled up close to her side, its tiny chest rising and falling as it breathed, its glowing eyes half closed but always alert. Every now and then it would lift its head and look at him, as if to make sure he was still there, still keeping watch, and he was. His hand always near his weapon, not to harm but to protect. The silence of the battlefield wrapped around them like a heavy blanket, broken only by the distant sounds of men laughing and talking at their camp. They believed the danger was gone. They had no idea that life still clung to the dragon they had sworn to destroy. Morning came slow with a red sun pushing through smoke and ash. The soldier felt his heart sink as he saw the rest of his squad moving closer, their boots crunching on burned earth. Their voices sharp, they were coming to check the remains. To make sure no threat had been left behind, the soldier knew what they would do if they found the hatchling or noticed the mother's weak breaths. He looked quickly at the little one, who had woken and was already pressing against its mother's body as if hiding. He whispered under his breath, "Stay quiet. Stay still." Though he knew the hatchling did not understand his words, only his tone. The squad reached the dragon's side, their leader stepping forward. He spat on the ground and muttered, "Beast's finally gone. Took enough of our men with it." The others laughed, but the soldier's chest tightened. He stood with them, pretending to share in their relief, but inside his heart pounded, fearing they would notice something. One of the men kicked at the dragon's wing, shaking dust into the air. The hatchling shivered but did not cry out. Its small body pressed deeper into the shadows beneath its mother. The soldier prayed silently that they would not see, but soldiers were trained to be suspicious. One of them frowned and pointed. "What's that smell, still fresh? Like blood not yet dried." The leader bent closer, inspecting the great chest of the dragon. The soldier's stomach turned cold as the man placed his hand against the scales. For a moment he thought it was over, that the faint heartbeat would be noticed, but the leader pulled back with a laugh. "Dead enough even if it twitches. It can't rise again." The others nodded, already turning away. The soldier let out the breath he had been holding, though he kept his face blank. But not all of them were convinced. One soldier lingered, eyes narrowing at the cracks between the scales. He muttered, "Should burn the body just in case. That's the only way to be sure." The leader waved him off. "Waste of fuel, we move out soon, leave the carcass for the crows." Still, the idea had been spoken, and it spread unease among the group. The soldier felt his heart twist, knowing that one wrong word could bring fire back to this place. Fire that would end the hatchling and the mother both. Later, when the squad left to prepare their supplies, two men stayed behind, whispering to each other. The soldier caught fragments of their words. "Strange how he lingers here. Keeps looking at the body. Maybe he's hiding something." Suspicion was growing, not only toward the dragon but toward him. He kept his face calm, but inside he burned with fear. The hatchling sensed it too, creeping out from the shadows when the men were gone, pressing itself against his leg with a soft cry. He knelt and placed a hand gently on its head, whispering, "I will not let them hurt you." But the danger grew each day. The dragon mother's breaths were stronger now, but still too weak to move. The hatchling never left her side unless it was to seek the soldier. It brought him small gifts, broken pieces of charred wood, shiny stones it found among the ruins, as if trying to thank him. Each time he accepted them with a faint smile, but his mind was heavy with worry. He knew the bond between them was real now. The hatchling trusted him fully, but that trust made them both targets. When night fell again, voices drifted from the camp, harsh and sharp. "We should finish the job." "Burn the beast," one man said. "Why wait? It's dead already." Another replied, "Let's not waste time." But the soldier heard enough to know the pressure was growing. It would only take one command from their leader, and the fire would come. He sat near the dragon's body, his hand resting on the hatchling's back. and he felt the weight of choice pressing harder than ever. If he revealed the truth, he would be branded a traitor. If he stayed silent, the dragon and her child would be lost. The hatchling lifted its head and looked at him with glowing eyes. There was no fear in them now, only trust, only hope, and in that gaze, the soldier found his answer. He could not stand aside anymore. He would protect them, not only in secret but in truth. No matter what his squad decided, no matter the cost. The moment of open conflict was coming. He could feel it. The whispers of his comrades were becoming louder, their suspicion sharper. Soon they would act, and when they did, he would have to stand against them. The night stretched long, the firelight from the camp glowing in the distance. The soldier rested but did not close his eyes. His weapon beside him, the hatchling curled against his leg. Sleeping without fear, the mother gave another faint breath, her chest rising and falling like the promise of something greater. The soldier watched her, knowing the truth. She was not only alive, she was recovering, and when she rose again, nothing would be the same. But until that day, it was up to him to protect them both. He had chosen his side, and the danger was closer than ever. The night was heavy with silence, but the soldier felt the weight of danger pressing close. His squad no longer trusted him. Their whispers grew sharper each day, and soon they would question him directly. He knew he could not keep the secret much longer. The dragon's faint breaths were becoming stronger, her body shifting ever so slightly as if fighting to return from the edge of death. The hatchling stayed close to her, always alert, always watching him with glowing eyes full of hope, and deep inside, the soldier felt that hope pulling him forward, forcing him to see more than he had ever been told. One evening, as the smoke of dying fires curled into the sky, the hatchling tugged at his sleeve with tiny claws. At first he thought it was frightened, but then it ran ahead a few steps, stopping to look back at him. Its eyes gleamed as if calling him to follow. The soldier hesitated, glancing back at his camp where the others were busy preparing supplies. If they noticed he was gone, suspicion would turn into accusation. But the pull in the hatchling's gaze was too strong. He tightened his grip on his weapon and followed. The little creature led him across broken ground and past blackened trees. Deeper into the ruins left by the dragon's fall, it stopped often, checking to see if he was still behind, then hurried on. The soldier's boots crunched against stone, his heart uneasy but curious. At last the hatchling slipped into a narrow crack in the rocks, a hidden path that looked too small for anything larger than a child. The soldier crouched and forced his way through. Scraping his armor against stone, the passage opened suddenly into a vast cave, lit by faint crystals glowing from the walls. The air was cooler here, untouched by fire. Heavy with an ancient stillness, the soldier's eyes widened as he looked around. This was no ordinary cave. Carvings covered the walls. Pictures of dragons flying not as monsters but as guardians, standing beside men, protecting villages from storms and enemies. Weapons lay scattered, old but powerful, crafted with strange symbols that shimmered faintly even after ages of dust. He stepped closer to one of the carvings, brushing away dirt. It showed a dragon with wings spread wide, sheltering a group of humans beneath it. His breath caught. This was not the story he had been told. The war had painted dragons as destroyers, but here the truth was written in stone. They had once been protectors. The hatchling chirped softly and ran ahead, stopping beside a broken pedestal. Upon it lay a shard of metal, glowing faintly with energy. The soldier knelt and lifted it carefully, feeling warmth spread into his hand. It was light, yet it carried a power that made his skin prickle. The hatchling watched him closely, as if waiting for him to understand. He looked back at the carvings, at the long-forgotten bond between dragons and humans. His chest tightened. Everything he had believed was a lie. The war was built on twisted truths. The dragons were not monsters. They were allies betrayed. He sank onto one knee, his hand still holding the glowing shard. The hatchling stepped closer, pressing its small head against his arm. The gesture was simple, but it filled him with a strange courage. He whispered, "Your kind protected us once." Didn't they? Though he knew the hatchling could not answer. Yet in its eyes, wide and filled with trust, he felt the answer was yes. The cave was not only a hiding place, it was a memory, a secret of what once was, and now perhaps a key to what could be again. The soldier stood, his mind racing. If his squad discovered this cave, they would destroy it. They would erase this truth forever. He could not allow that. He had a duty now, not to his orders, but to something greater. He looked at the hatchling and then back toward the entrance where the faint light of the outside world spilled through. He knew the others were already suspicious, and when they noticed his absence, they might follow. His time was running out. He crouched and touched the hatchling's head gently. "You brought me here for a reason," he whispered. The little creature let out a soft trill, a sound almost like agreement. The soldier's chest ached with the weight of the choice before him. He could walk away and leave the truth buried, or he could embrace it and face the wrath of his own people. But as he looked into the hatchling's eyes, he knew his path was set. He could not turn back. The dragon mother's faint breath still echoed in his memory. She was healing, and if she recovered, she would rise not as a monster, but as a guardian again, and he would stand with her, no matter what it cost. The glowing shard in his hand pulsed faintly. As if alive, he slipped it into his belt, hiding it from sight. The hatchling chirped once more and turned back toward the narrow passage. Leading him out, the soldier followed, his heart burning with a new fire. The truth was his burden now, and it was also his strength. When they emerged back into the fading light of evening, the soldier could see his squad in the distance, their eyes scanning the horizon, their suspicion sharper than ever. He knew the days of secrecy were almost over. Soon they would confront him, and he would be forced to choose openly. But inside he felt ready. The cave had shown him what the world had forgotten, and the hatchling had trusted him with its secret. The soldier clenched his fists, his resolve firm. The dragons had been betrayed once, but not again, not while he still drew breath. The air around the battlefield was heavy and still. But inside the hidden corner where the dragon's body rested, change was happening. For days the soldier had watched over the hatchling and its mother, always with fear in his chest that his squad would discover the truth. Each night the hatchling curled against the soldier's leg, no longer seeing him as an enemy but as something more, a protector. And each morning when the sun cut through the smoke, the soldier saw the dragon's chest rise a little stronger than before. Her breaths were still slow, still shallow, but they carried power that had not been there before. She was not gone, she was returning. The soldier's heart pounded every time he noticed the movement of her chest or the faint twitch of her wings. He wondered what would happen when she finally opened her eyes. Would she see him as friend or foe? Would she burn him in her rage? Or would she understand the bond that had grown between her child and him? He did not know, but he could not turn back now. He had chosen to protect them, and whatever came next would be his fate. One night, the wind howled across the ruined land. Carrying sparks of fire and ash, the hatchling pressed itself close to its mother. Chirping softly, the soldier sat nearby, his weapon across his knees, his eyes scanning the dark for danger. Then he heard it, a sound that made his breath stop. A deep, broken voice, weak but filled with age and weight. It came not through his ears but through his mind. "Human," it whispered, faint as smoke. The soldier froze, his grip tightening on his weapon. He looked at the dragon's massive head and saw her eye. One great golden eye flicker open for a moment. The hatchling cried out with joy, pressing its nose against her scales. The soldier's chest felt tight. The dragon was awake. Her voice reached him again, though her lips did not move. Why do you protect my child?" The soldier could not speak at first, his mouth dry, but then he found his voice, trembling and low. "Because no one else will." The dragon's eye closed again, her breath uneven. For a moment he thought she would slip back into silence. But then he felt something else, not anger, not hatred, but curiosity. She was listening. The hatchling pressed closer to her. Chirping and nudging, the dragon gave a faint sound, like a sigh, and her eye opened once more. "You are human. Your kind hunted us, burned us. Why do you stay?" The soldier bowed his head, his voice quiet but steady. "I was told you were monsters. But I see a mother and her child. I see life worth saving." For a long moment there was only silence. Then the dragon's voice came again, soft but edged with sorrow. "Few among your kind would say this. Many only see fire and death." The soldier looked at the hatchling, who stared back at him with trust. "I cannot change them," he whispered. "But I can change myself." The dragon's eye studied him, glowing faintly in the dark. She saw the way her hatchling pressed against him without fear, the way he did not raise his weapon. For the first time since the great battle, her body relaxed slightly. "You fed my child," her voice murmured in his mind. "You guarded us, even when your own people doubted you." The soldier swallowed hard. Feeling the truth of her words weigh heavy, he nodded slowly. Yes, and I will keep doing so, no matter the cost. The dragon closed her eye again, but this time it was not the stillness of death. It was rest. Her chest rose with more strength, her breaths deeper, steadier. The soldier felt a shiver run through him. She was healing, she was returning, but with her return came danger. If his squad discovered her awake, there would be no stopping them from attacking. He looked at the hatchling, who was now watching him with bright eyes, and he whispered, "We will need to be ready." The following days were filled with tension. The dragon's strength grew slowly, each breath steadier, her body stirring more often. Sometimes she opened her eye and looked at the soldier, and though her gaze was heavy, it no longer burned with hate. The hatchling grew bolder, playing near the soldier, bringing him bits of stone and scraps from the earth as if sharing treasures. The bond between them grew stronger, silent but unbreakable, and yet the shadow of the squad loomed larger. They noticed the soldier slipping away more often, returning with ash on his armor and dirt on his hands. Whispers grew among them, whispers of betrayal. One evening, as the sun sank low and the campfire's glow painted the ground red, the soldier overheard them. "He's hiding something," one man muttered. "He lingers near the beast's corpse too much," another said. Their leader frowned, his voice sharp. "We will watch him. If he's protecting something, we will burn it out." The soldier clenched his fists, his jaw tight. The time of hiding was ending. The dragon mother would soon rise, and when she did, there would be no more secrets. He felt fear, but also a strange courage, because he knew she had seen him, she had spoken to him, and she had not destroyed him. There was trust there now, fragile but real, and when she returned fully, that trust would decide everything. That night the wind shifted, carrying the sound of her breath stronger than ever. The hatchling pressed close to him, its eyes glowing bright. The soldier placed a hand on its head, his voice low. "She's coming back," the hatchling chirped softly, its small body trembling with excitement. And in the darkness, the soldier knew the moment was close. The dragon would rise, and when she did, the world would see not a monster, but a mother who had been given a chance to live. And standing beside her would be the one human who chose mercy over hate. The night before the final storm was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that hides danger beneath it. The soldier sat near the dragon mother, her breath stronger now, her golden eye opening more often, watching him, judging him, but no longer seeing him as an enemy. The hatchling slept against her side, its small body rising and falling, safe at last for the first time since the battle. But the soldier knew the peace would not last. He had seen the way his squad looked at him, the way their whispers sharpened like blades. They no longer trusted him. They believed he was hiding something, and soon they would act. At dawn, the soldiers moved together, their leader in front, his face hard and cold. The soldier felt the air grow heavy. He knew this was the moment. They approached the dragon's resting place, their weapons ready, their eyes filled with suspicion. The leader spoke loud, his voice echoing against the broken stones. "You've been keeping secrets, you wander away. You guard this place as if something is here." The soldier's chest tightened. His hand gripped his weapon, not to attack but to defend. He tried to stay calm. "There is nothing here, only ashes and bones." But even as he spoke, he knew the lie was too thin. One of the men pushed past him and kicked at the dragon's side. The hatchling cried out, springing forward to shield its mother, its tiny body glowing with a spark of defiance. The squad froze, their eyes wide. "It's alive," one of them shouted. "The beast's spawn lives." "Kill it now." The soldier stepped in front of the hatchling, his body blocking their aim. "No," he said, his voice shaking but firm. The leader narrowed his eyes, his hand raising his weapon. "Move aside, soldier, or you'll fall with it." The air was thick with tension, every breath sharp like a blade. The soldier knew he could not hold back anymore. "I will not let you touch them," he said, his voice rising with strength. The squad stared in shock, anger flashing in their eyes. "You've betrayed us," one of them spat. "You stand with monsters." The soldier shook his head, his grip tight on his weapon. "No, I stand with the truth. I stand with a mother and her child." The leader gave the order, his voice cold as steel. "Kill them all." The squad raised their weapons, fire crackling at their tips, the smell of death heavy in the air. The soldier's heart raced. He could not fight them all, but he would not move. The hatchling pressed against his leg, trembling but brave, its small cry rising in the air. Then the ground shook, a deep rumble echoing through the battlefield. The dragon mother's golden eye snapped open. Burning bright like fire, her chest rose, her wings twitched. And with a roar that split the sky, she rose from the ashes. The soldiers stumbled back, their faces pale with terror. The dragon's roar shook the earth. Dust and fire raining from the ruins, she spread her broken but mighty wings, her body still wounded but filled with strength. Her gaze fell on the men who aimed at her child. Her voice thundered in their minds. "Enough!" the hatchling cried out with joy, pressing against her, and she lowered her massive head to shield it. The soldier stood at her side, his heart pounding, knowing this was the moment everything would change. The squad tried to attack, fire and steel flying through the air, but the dragon swept her wing, knocking them aside like insects. Her breath came heavy, flames spilling from her mouth. Not to kill, but to warn, still. The men did not stop, their fear turning to rage. The soldier raised his weapon, not against the dragon, but against his own kind. He fired into the ground before them, shouting, "Stop, she is not your enemy. She is a mother protecting her child." But the men only cursed him, calling him traitor, fool, monster lover. The dragon's golden eye turned to him then, her voice filling his mind. "You protect us, even against your own blood." The soldier bowed his head, his voice steady despite the chaos. "I see more than they do. I see who you are, not what they told us." For a moment the great beast stared at him. Then she lowered her head close, her breath hot against his face. "You are strange, human, but my child trusts you, so I will trust you too." With a final roar, she swept her wings wide, the wind throwing the soldiers back, scattering them like leaves. The leader screamed for them to return, but fear had broken their courage. One by one they fled, leaving their weapons behind. Their voices fading into the distance, the battlefield grew silent once more, broken only by the crackle of fire and the heavy breaths of the dragon. The soldier stood trembling, his weapon lowered, his chest burning with fear and relief. The hatchling pressed against his leg, chirping with triumph, and the dragon mother lowered her head beside him, her golden eye watching with strange warmth. "You chose mercy when others chose hate," her voice whispered in his mind. "You saw life where they saw only death." The soldier placed a hand against her massive scale, feeling the heat of her body. "I only did what was right," he whispered. Though his voice shook, the dragon gave a sound like a sigh, low and deep, and then perhaps, "There is hope for your kind after all." The hatchling climbed onto his arm, chirping happily as if declaring victory. The soldier almost laughed, though tears burned in his eyes. He looked at the great dragon and then at the horizon where the enemy had fled. He knew nothing would be the same again. His squad would return with more men, more weapons. The war would rage on. But he had made his choice. He would stand with them, with the mother and her child, no matter the cost. The dragon's wings stretched against the sky. Broken but strong, her voice thundered softly in his mind. "This is not the end, human. This is only the beginning." And as the hatchling curled against him, the soldier knew she was right. The war was far from over, but in that moment, in the bond between human and dragon, a new story had begun.